invite you guys. Inca.
On Instagram.
StreamYard is pretty chill because I don't think I don't think we get a lot of big audience. Okay, did you get the invite?
Yes.
It said you invited me.
Yay! Yeah, I think I'm hearing feedback.
Okay. I turned mine all the way down.
Okay, I can hear it. Awesome. Yay, we get to see three screens, three of us today. Oh, happy Chinese New Year, Robbie. That's very cool. Hi everyone. It's Valentine's Day today. How coincidental, but maybe it's planned. And so we have Yinka again and Eva. Maybe Eva wants to introduce us.
Yeah, myself, introduce myself.
Yeah, introduce us.
Hi. Hey everyone, I'm Ava from Ava Gale Adventures. I'm a Filipino American who loves to travel, based in San Francisco, which is, I'm based in San Francisco, in California. Right now I'm not traveling, but I do share a lot of my past travels on my page. So that's a little bit about me. And I do like to date when I travel. So I have a bunch of stories.
I know.
Which you can find in my content.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you on today. I remember we connected. How did we even connect? We did meet up in Athens, Greece, like a couple years ago.
So I don't even know how we connected online, but we did end up, because we're friends on IG, we did end up meeting up in Athens.
I think that's the thing with like 2022, did you say?
Mm-hmm. Summer.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, so that was
almost 2 years.
Yeah, that's the thing with travel creators or people who travel. You kind of just meet people online and you never know where in the world you would meet. But once you're in the same city, we're like, oh, we better meet in person because you never know when you'll see each other again.
Yeah,
so exactly. Cool. Yeah, and I'm sure, I mean, you know, Yinka, we always come on this live every week. And so today we're kind of talking about dating while traveling while being in theme with Valentine's Day. And I saw that Eva, she does have if you guys haven't seen her account yet, she does have this Instagram story highlight just particularly on dating. And so I knew I had to call her on the show.
Yeah.
So let's bring in this topic by talking about like how long we've been traveling, and you know, as a single person traveling, how has dating been like? Eva, you want to start?
Oh yeah, sure. So I've been traveling, I guess, more full-time-ish, with a home base for the last 3 years, but I've kind of started my whole travels back in like 2008. But dating while traveling only started in summer 2022 for me because prior to that, I was in a long-term relationship, which unfortunately ended up very badly. It was very toxic. So after I did a little bit of healing in the beginning of 2022 and did a little self-work, then I was thriving and I went to Europe and went wild. So
I can totally hear your enthusiasm from your voice.
It was
fun. Tell us more.
So I decided I didn't even have the intention to start dating during my big Europe trip. It was a 2.5-month trip. But when I went to Italy was my first spot. I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's see what's out there. And like, why not? Because before that, I'd only ever dated in like the US or dated American boys. And I'm like, there's Italian boys here. You know, I'm going to go to Greece. I'm going to go to Jordan. I'm going to all these other countries. And it's just like, why not? And let's just have some fun. And so that was kind of my thinking with it all. And I kind of just started to dip my toes in it. I got on the apps for like the first time ever, like Bumble and Hinge, and kind of had pretty good luck with it and had a few summer flings while I was traveling around.
That's very cool.
Look at you.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say I could pitch into my own little part there. For me, I think it's kind of similar. I started traveling about 3 years ago, and then only started dating seriously during the pandemic, to be honest. And then I went on Hinge as well. So it was actually Hinge is the one I've actually used till today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've not used any other dating apps and stuff like that, just because I've always wanted something more serious, looking for a wife, really, or someone that I could spend the rest of my life with. So I just find it more like the most serious app from all the other ones that I've seen or heard. And while traveling, honestly, only dated twice, technically, outside of the States per se. So I don't have anything super crazy, but yeah, I'll be able to give you guys some different perspective for sure.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Yeah. And you said you were traveling for 3 years. Oh, I have so many questions.
3
Okay, but I'll 3 years ish. Yeah. Okay.
2021.
I'll dig into that, but first I'll share a bit about myself. I think I've been traveling since 2018 full time. I always had like serious relationships, but abroad, and so it kind of I became single like 2 years ago, and after the pandemic, so I had a pandemic relationship that was kind of the last of it. All throughout 2021, and so like from 2022 onwards, I've kind of been on my own, and there's so much to unpack over there, because traveling slow as a nomad has its thing, because you're kind of in a country maybe 2 months to maximum 6 months, so there's also that time constraint as opposed to traditional dating where you have like weekends to meet up all the time. Anyway, back to reality, back to the present moment. It's still a work in progress, I guess. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Same here.
Curious about Yinka, right? Because I know that you slow travel. Each time you are in one place, you would stay for a couple of months, and you would do your routine stuff, like go to church, do your sports, hang out with local friends. So then I imagine you have quite a consistent group of friends or people
Correct.
that have similar interests as you.
Yes, definitely. Yes and no. Because I say no because there's so many parts to me. And like the other day I was talking to one of my friends and she was like, I didn't know anything about it. So wait, I thought I knew you, but then there's this next part, like, where did that come from? And I'm like, that's just the beauty of Yinks. Like there's always so many different parts to you, like, either like find out or discover, because I don't like, some people knew me a certain way before. And then like before I went to the States, or when I was in the States, I was known as an athlete or whatever. And then post the States, I became known as this travel guy and stuff. So people know me for different reasons. And so, yeah, like I have consistent groups, but some definitely a lot more like-minded people, I'd say, for sure.
But where did he go?
Oh,
he left.
Wait, what happened?
You left the invite. You left the Instagram live.
Oh, really?
He just popped away. Okay, he's
and
back.
now you're back.
Sorry about that.
Ooh, technical difficulties.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So, yeah, why do you think? You mean there's no potential anyone from any of those groups?
I'd say there was a couple of potential people. I had a few situationships, you would call it. Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely situationship. But then there's one of the girls actually where we had a legit conversation. Everyone thought we were a great match or whatever, but we actually just happened to just see each other as like really good friends and nothing more. So like I'll say that was probably the closest person I probably had. Also, something that I found that was a problem was, especially if there's a lot of locals, the mindset was very different.
Mm.
Like me being a Canadian, Americanish, kind of had to be able to live on the same page almost. So there was a little bit of a disconnect.
Mm.
So that's where, so that gets really difficult, I'd say.
Mm. And forever, have you always kind of just been like, not to, like, you weren't ever looking for anything, or were you serious about looking for
Um,
someone?
I wouldn't say. I mean, okay, mostly I was just there to have fun, and kind of just
Yeah, yeah.
see what the guys were like in different cultures, different countries. But I wasn't closed off to the possibility of anything happening more. I was in long distance relationships before, so like I knew how to do that if it came to that. But I didn't really want to do a long distance relationship. However,
Mm.
the summer that I met you, my last place that I went was Germany, and I met a guy there. And we ended up talking for a couple of more months after I came back home. And I actually went back to Germany that winter to go house sit for a friend for 5 weeks. And we are talking about meeting up and planning, to see each other and everything. And a week before I got there, he was like, "Oh, like I've been also like seeing this other girl, and I kind of want to like see where it goes with her, and I want to be a little bit more serious about her." And I was like,
Yeah.
well, damn.
Oh.
Dang.
Okay. Like a week before I came. And it was like he was the one who was all the talk, like, "Oh, like when I come here," he's like, you don't even have to stay at your friend's house all the time. You can come stay with
Yeah.
me. You can be with me, all this." And I'm like, "Okay, sure,
Yeah.
whatever." And then he's the one that like pulled the rug out from under my feet. So
So to be clear, he
uh
was German. He was German,
yes,
German.
he was German.
Ooh. Okay, not representative of the Germans out there, but good to know.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, and I think because I really only spend like a few weeks at a time or like a month, I've been doing the fast travel thing. So it's not
Mhm.
really a lot of time to get to know people.
Mm.
Right.
But I ended up staying home for most of the summer, all of last summer, like from May to October, which has been the longest time that I've been home since I got back to the States in 2020. And so I was like, let me see what these American boys are about again. And so I
Uh-huh.
did start dating back home, back
Yeah.
home,
Yeah.
last summer. So it's been quite the experience. It's definitely a
How
little
is
bit
that?
different.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
curious. Like dating overseas versus dating at home.
Mhm.
How is it any
I feel
different?
like
Same?
for me, I don't know if it's just a personal preference or what, but for me, I feel like dating abroad is a little bit more thrilling because
Mm.
it's a different culture. A lot of people have different ways of thinking. The locals are very different. I tend to try to date other locals or other travelers because then if you date, I feel like if I meet other travelers and go on dates with other travelers on the road or people who like to travel, you kind of have that same mindset and they kind of get you. Like I've matched with guys and started talking to guys here back at home, and they're like, "Oh, like I don't really travel that much." And this one guy
Oh.
literally said to me, this one guy was like, "What's so interesting about traveling? Like I don't get it." He's like, "Why? Like why would you want to go to all these other places when there's so
Whoa,
much
that
to
must be
do
a deal
here?"
breaker.
I'm like, bye. If I have to explain this to you, goodbye. Like,
Yeah,
no, no.
I know.
Wait, wait,
So
wait. But
yeah.
but then are you guys then saying that no, you can't give a chance to someone that is not open to travel, or maybe they just don't know the possibility of travel? Like you talk about Americans, right? A lot of Americans, let's be honest, don't really know too much about travel because they think America is all that. So like they've not been exposed. It's not the culture. So are we saying that because okay, this guy is saying, what is this about travel, blah blah blah? What if he actually just doesn't know and it's just the typical ignorant American?
I wouldn't say it's like a deal breaker off the bat. I did try to explain it to him, like why I love traveling and why I like going to meet people abroad, like explore different cultures and just what appeals to me about travel. And like his response to it was like, I wish I could understand, but like I can't. And so it's like he
Yeah.
didn't even try to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Like then that's fine. Like that's fine. You do
I
you.
think-
I'ma do me.
Yeah.
Let me go see the other fish in the sea. Okay.
Yeah, I think there are certain qualities about people who travel, right? Like, first off, we are very open-minded, we're a bit more adventurous. Maybe we don't do like the craziest, thrilling, the most adrenaline pumping thing, but you can say to a certain way, we're adventurous people, we're open to new experiences,
Absolutely.
and we thrive on that. And so, for someone who has been like in their own country the whole time, who thinks that their comfort zone is the best, already there is that
Right.
disconnect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Totally.
honestly. Belle, what about you? Any crazy experiences or
Ooh.
I
Or
remember
yeah,
you also had
what's
like
your
a series, right?
style?
I have a series.
Didn't you have like
Uh,
the South American? There was the whole South American gig, wasn't it?
Ooh.
Or
Oh yeah. Did I tell you about it ever when I was there?
no, but
I
there's a whole social media stuff, I think.
What? Okay, no, nothing of that, nothing dramatic. But it
No,
was
no,
quite
not
cool
dramatic.
because I think I was newly single at the time, and then I left Singapore to go to the US, and that was in October 2020. This was still during the thick of the pandemic, and my time in the US was coming up because I only have 90 days. So me and my other American friend, we decided to go down to Costa Rica, which is a short flight away from the US, from California,
Yeah.
to ring in Christmas and the New Year. So he was very encouraging. He was like, "Yeah, you should just like, just have fun." Um, he was very like encouraging. But I was like pretty much on my own, enjoying my time on my own, and then kind of just it was all fate that my friend and his partner decided to go diving. I wasn't gonna go diving. Then so I was on the boat with the guy, and we kind of started chatting, and I was talking about how I needed to learn surfing. And so he offered to teach me, and we ended up spending like 10 days, morning and evenings together, learning how to surf. Well, long story short, I invited him to Mexico, which was my next stop. Um, and he said yes. And so I got him the ticket, and um, he got a passport for that. So he like never left Costa Rica before.
Shoot.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's well, and then it was supposed to be a 2 week Mexico trip because I really admired his like his adventure, like his spirit, adventurous
Adventurous.
spirit. Yeah,
Mhm.
and also like how he was eager to learn and how he was daring to do anything. And I saw a bit of that in myself. Like I felt like being maybe back home in Singapore, or just being Asian, or just being a female, it's there's like so many precautions that I have to take. And so like seeing that how fearless he was, I was like, ooh, I want to hang out with this person more. So that 2 week trip ended up to be a full year traveling South America because, well, thanks to the pandemic, I was able to he was able to do his stuff online. And then I was like, okay, why don't you do your stuff online? I'll cover for everything. You can work for me in exchange, and you'll be my Spanish tour guide, basically. So, like, thanks to his
Well,
Spanish speaking, it's a good trade off. It's a good trade
Yeah,
off.
I mean,
Otherwise, I
let
wouldn't
me
have
let me
like,
get one of those.
yeah,
It was a
I
win-win,
know,
huh?
right? Yeah. But it was like, I feel
Who
like there
wants to
was
be my
still the
Spanish tour guide?
yeah. It was if it was super crazy because like it was a series of yeses and crazy yeses. I think I wouldn't have said yes to traveling with a stranger abroad, but yeah, it was a series of crazy yeses that led to a whole year of like traveling together around South America. We were in like Bolivia for 2 months, Peru for 2 months, Mexico for 6 months, etc. And I think up till today, it's still one of my best experiences because with the pandemic, there wasn't
Amazing.
anybody. Yeah, there wasn't anybody traveling, and we could really slow travel. Yeah, but that's
Yeah,
just one section of like the whole travel life. Yeah,
that's amazing.
crazy
Wow.
stories.
Dang,
Yeah.
crazy. It looks like someone asked a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
I
for
missed it.
you,
Apologies.
Anton.
Yinka?
Oh, it's for me. So Anton asked, he was like, Ying, speak to the point of traveling as Christian and the challenges of hookup culture on the road versus your beliefs. Yeah, I think that's a big one. So Anton's my friend from Bali, and yeah, as a Christian, I would say traveling, especially in this hookup culture, is very, very, very difficult. Especially when I'm choosing to be celibate, or like keeping myself till like marriage and stuff. It gets really tough because in today's age, everyone just wants to, bang, bang, smash, whatever, and then that's it. And they think that's all. No, well, and that's all they think it is really. And it's like there's more to relationship than just like that, right? And especially as a guy, keeping yourself and then also trying to um set boundaries, but also like make your intentions be known without and like respecting the lady as well. I'd say it gets tougher. And at some point, yeah, and like we know nomads and stuff, and a lot of nomads could be pretty promiscuous and like let's just be honest. It's just
Oh
how
wait, I have this follow-up side question because I had a question. Is it true that the nomad community in Bali are full of swingers?
are you kidding me? Heck yes.
No comments.
Like Bali is one of the places where a lot of crazy stuff happens. Like I don't even I just need to just sit there and just hear. And I could just hear all my friends just going, doing. If you're not taken, like if you're not married, it's pretty crazy, I'd say. And like
I
they
mean,
have
uh-huh.
tantric experiences and all this crazy whatever, all because of yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty bad, I'd say. Like there's a whole thing of like practicing safe sex and all that, but then there's a whole different like crazy culture that also goes deeper, and I'm just like, at what point,
Mm.
like where are we trying to get to with all this?
So I got a
Um,
question then for you. So with all of that, and then your intentional dating and saving yourself for marriage and everything, when you talk to women or when you tell women that when you're dating, like what's like kind of what kind of responses do you get to that? How do women react to that? Or
for the most
maybe
part,
how do people react to that?
I've had really good responses because most of the girls that I've intentionally like asked out or anything have almost similar mindsets where
Mhm.
they're also either trying to wait or something. So that's been pretty refreshing. The time where I don't get that mindset or that response is when if I'm just talking to a regular person and they just like, yeah, so because it's like, you gotta try it before you have it, whatever, and all that stuff. So then, but they actually tend to respect me for the
Mhm.
fact that like
I
in such a
do.
crazy world, you're still
Yeah.
like not just like one night stands and stuff like that. Like that must be really hard. And I'm like, probably one of the hardest things I've actually ever done, to be honest. I don't know why I ever chose to. Of course, based on my beliefs, but like, yeah,
Mhm.
some actually end up actually really valuing it. But then it's just it comes to a mindset of do we align on the same things? So that's
Right.
where it gets really tricky.
So the way to go about that, your number one must have is, well, an alignment in beliefs, and so you look
Yeah,
from there. Yeah, that
yeah.
that helps
Because
with.
if we don't align in
Yeah.
that, I'm not gonna try and force you to like for us to have the same beliefs. So then why am I don't want to change you as a person. You're already a person,
Right.
so I don't want to instill my own faith or stuff on you.
Mhm.
So we might as well already be on the same page with that.
Yeah, helps to navigate the craziness.
Mhm.
Objectively speaking about Bali, sure, there's a lot of options. There are a lot of good-looking people there as well. No arguments
So
there.
many, so
Yeah,
many.
yeah, I can
Like
see why.
I
honestly,
gotta
I
go
was
back to
really
Bali.
Yeah.
no. So I'm not even kidding. Like the other day, I was like the last time I was there. One day I was just driving on the bike, and I was like, Bali has to have the most beautiful, like good-looking people in general that I've seen. Like everyone
Really,
is just good
the cool
looking.
kids are
Legit,
there.
everywhere you drive, everyone is just like I'm like, what the heck? This is yeah, because everyone takes care of their bodies. It's almost kind of like
That's
the
true.
California of the States, a lot of people
Yeah.
are very good looking in California, like because everyone like green, gym,
Yeah.
this, they care about
Yeah,
their
that's the
looks compared
beach.
to other
Everyone's
parts.
always half naked all the time. I've probably never seen. I know this one friend who lives there. I don't think I've seen him with a shirt on before. I think one is the weather, and two, he works out a lot. He doesn't even go to the beach, but yeah, he just doesn't have to put on shirts. Yeah, I mean, it's not like I don't really go on apps there, but just I've heard that there are always sex parties, there are always like underground parties. There is also like a really open culture there, so you can literally find anything you want there, whether it's a serious
Yeah.
relationship or whether you kind of just want to date around. Which like if you're kind of just figuring out like your likes and your dislikes, your preferences, that's a good place to start. And I've also like
Is
on
it
the
though?
whole other spec. No, you don't think so?
Because isn't it
Like,
then too much options, like that you're just being
Mm.
tossed into this like unrealistic world sometimes?
maybe.
Because if you go into that, then are you gonna be having those kind of expectations in other places that maybe things don't actually happen like that? So
Yeah,
there's
that
that
is the whole.
question, like,
I
is
think
it
that
like
goes for like travel dating in general. Like for someone like me
Mhm.
who's not like a full-time traveler and has a home base, that's what some people ask me. They're like, well, because I want to see like what's out there. I want to see what dating is like in other cultures. And I'm like, okay, I get to learn what I like and don't like, and then come back home. And they're like, yeah, but do you expect that from like American guys where dating's not like that in the culture?
the
Like
same?
I went on dates in Morocco, and the guys there, just like we're like, okay, I'm gonna pay for everything. I'm gonna spoil you. I'm gonna, do all
Whoa.
this and stuff. And so, I mean, I guess I got lucky because some people haven't had that experience, but
Mhm.
and I've dated a couple. I went on dates, like in Middle Eastern countries too, where the guys are just like, let me just like spoil you and stuff. And so then I come back home, and it's different because American guys are like, let's split this, let's do that, and it's it's different things.
Practical.
Right. But I feel like to your question of is it too much because of all the options,
Mhm.
I don't think it is. I think it's really just like figuring out what is out there, and you get to learn what your expectations are, and then you
Mhm.
just have to find that here at home. And I do think it's possible. It might be harder because you have like higher
Mhm.
standards when you come
Yeah.
back
Right.
home, but it's possible. I mean, especially in a place like San Francisco or California because of all the
California for
diversity.
sure.
Yeah, because of all the diversity and stuff like that. So there are a lot of people from different cultures, whether they were raised in different countries and moved here or just raised in a different culture but were born and raised here. So I think
Mhm.
it's possible. So I think that that's the fun part of dating abroad or dating while traveling for me
Yeah.
is really just kind of, just learning all the different styles and just like seeing how guys can be in different cultures and being like, oh, I could be treated like this. Like I never
Oh,
knew, So
totally. I
yeah.
think that's the same with just traveling in general. Now that you've
Yeah.
seen the
Mhm.
world, you know how the world operates, then you come back to your home country and you realize what's missing or what's different. And then that's where I guess you slowly form your identity and you figure out what works best for you
Mhm.
Mhm.
in the same way. Yeah.
And then I have this question for you guys leading on to that. Like, so especially, as females where you guys are maybe not, you guys are different because when you travel, you guys would definitely stand out for in most countries where you guys are probably going to, right? So like Belle, you go to the Americas or you go to South America, you definitely stand out. Ava as well, you would definitely stand out in most places. Do you guys feel that people you know the word I'm trying to say?
Fetishize.
That word. Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel like you guys a lot, like how do you guys feel people like the fetish around you guys, especially when you travel?
Hmm. I
Mm.
personally, I haven't really felt that ever,
Okay.
like being fetishized. I mean, sure, there like will be guys that will like catcall and just be like, oh, like you look so exotic or different things like that. But
Mhm.
I don't ever feel like I like dating wise, or like people really trying to come up to me, like have fetishized me. It might be because I am a darker Asian, I'm Filipina. I think in
Right.
some different countries, like I can blend in a little bit more. Um, like when I went
Most
to the Middle
actually.
East. Yeah, most countries, obviously, global majority. So yeah, I mean, like I can blend in a little bit more, and I don't really I guess like stick out because I have black hair, brown eyes, and stuff like that. So I don't personally, I've never really felt like I've been fetishized.
Gotcha. Belle, what about
For
you?
me, when I was in South America, I was with a guy, so it was a bit different. But yeah, sure, there would definitely be. I get second looks just because I am the only Asian probably in roaming around the
Yeah.
streets of Cusco, Peru. But in terms of dating, I mean I did have one experience when I was in Hawaii, and this guy like just particularly likes Asians, and so I was one of his interests. So yes, I have had that share of males who are just into Asians, but I think that's a bit weird. I mean, on hindsight, it definitely was weird, but like there's no denying that there are certain types of people that prefer certain types of cultures. And
Yeah.
so being back in Asia helps tone it down a bit. But yeah, there's still that sometimes that preference of like guys wanting to date Asians and stuff. But for the most part,
Mhm.
I mean, if I really see like such a like big fetish, then that's a red flag for me.
Hmm.
Usually it's more like if they do express interest, it's more because my lifestyle is so different than most other people. Like traveling full time as a female, or like being running your own business, or like
Mhm.
just being super independent. I think they don't really. I think that's a fresh. It's something fresh to them, so that's why they're
Hmm.
intrigued.
Yeah.
Nice. I have a question for you. And
Yes.
I think this is for especially people who are new into the whole travel thing. They want to get into dating. What is the advice that you'd give them? Like where to start, how to approach it, apps, no apps. Um, of course it's different because you're female, so you could give a female perspective, but like
Yeah.
maybe you could also give advice to guys on maybe certain things that they should do or not do. What do you think?
Well, if you are a female like me, I think that it's easier to date when you're solo traveling, because if you're with other people or in your group, I've done it. I've gone on dates when I've been on like group trips and stuff like that, but it's definitely easier to date while you're solo traveling. So I would say that's the perfect time to try it. Um, get on the apps. You can get on the apps. One of my friends does this. I haven't really done this before, but she'll get on the apps before she goes to a place, and
Oh
she'll set
yeah,
her location there so that she could start talking to guys and be like, all right, this is when I arrive. We're talking already. Let's go on a date, you know?
yeah. I've had one of
So
Sorry, I just want to bank on that.
yeah.
I met this Japanese girl. She was supposed to just be in Bali for like 2 weeks for New Year's. So she did switch on that travel mode, which I didn't know before. But there's apparently a travel mode, and so you set your travel location to Bali. You start chatting with guys, and then you see who you connect with, and then once because time is limited, right? Time is so precious, so you have to pick wisely. You can't be
Yeah.
wasting time on guys that don't click. So like yeah, you've slowly made your connection while chatting online, and then once she was there, she started meeting up in person, and then like the connection became stronger, and so she was able to spend what little time she had with that person. And so yeah, that's to build on your point on chatting before going to that location.
Yeah. And if I'd say, like, if you're not comfortable like being on the apps or whatever, the best ways to meet people like in the wild, um do a lot of like local activities, like go on group tours, go I've met people out at pub crawls. It's really just like the type of go where or do go and do activities where you want to find the type of people that you want to meet. Obviously, if you're going on a pub crawl and stuff like that, you're going to find somebody who's more like party, like having fun and everything. But, if you want to meet somebody who's like into music or likes art or whatever, go to a museum, go to a show, go to something like that. Or if you just want to meet people in general, yeah, just do general things like a cooking class or a walking tour or something like this. I've literally met people all of those ways, like guys that I've talked to and then gone on dates with by doing all of that. So I would say, like, if you've ever thought about it, and if you're a single girl in your home country and you're dating at home is not working out, definitely try it once. Like traveling abroad. I mean, the worst that can happen is like you're not gonna like it, and then you don't have to do it again. But I met a girl in Morocco who she travels a lot, and she's never tried to date abroad or like date on her travels, and we met and we actually traveled to 2 different cities together in Morocco, and I was telling her all about it. And like on our last night, she was like, "Oh my God." She's like, "I booked a walking tour." And then she's like, "Me and the guy kind of got along. And then we ended up kind of like going on a date." She's like, "So thank you, because I think I'm going to try this now, like going forward, like just dating and stuff like that."
Wow.
I was like, "Okay, I'm just out here like just,
Oh.
inspiring people to do it."
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
I
would
think
say,
definitely.
try it.
Yeah, I would say join group events for sure. I did matchmake a friend, like that same Japanese girl, over New Year's countdown. We were just a bunch of nomads that got together, and I have a mutual friend. Well, no, actually nobody really knew each other. So she was just my friend, and I invited her to my party with my friends. And then this other random guy who was like, he wasn't even super close to Kieran and Emily, but he kind of, because it was in the spirit of New Year's, everyone kind of just came
Right.
together. And then I was like, my friend needs a ride to point B. And so it sparked everything. So I was a really proud guardian. What do you
Matchmaker.
Cupid?
Matchmaker.
Cupid.
Cupid.
Yeah.
Matchmaker, Cupid. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
they ended up
Just
spending the
yeah.
rest of the time together.
That's awesome. I have
And that's
another point
also
to that. Yeah.
no, go ahead.
Oh,
Ava, go ahead.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I had a friend who was talking to guys on the apps, and one of the guys wanted to go on a date with her, and she was very new to dating abroad, and she's like, I don't really want to go alone. And I was like, "Girl, I'll go with you." I was like, "Just ask him, do you have a friend for my friend?" And if people really want to date, they will find a friend for your friend.
Absolutely.
So if you don't want to go alone, if you want to dip your toes into the dating world, but you don't want to go alone, find somebody else, find another traveler, or if you're traveling with a friend, just be like, "Hey, do you have a friend for my friend?" And y'all can go on a double date. So that's another tip.
Yeah. That was really good. Actually, also one of the key things I think that you said, for instance, that stood out was you said the type of person you're looking for, like go to those places. That's really, really
Yes.
key. I think people keep forgetting that. Like
Yeah.
you can't, I don't know, if you're looking for a fit person, I'm not gonna be finding a fit person. Probably, I don't know where, but like somewhere else. You understand? Like probably go to the gym if I'm interested in like a fit girl or something, right? So like actually, like if I want a Christian girl, I want a godly girl, well, that could happen anywhere. But probably church would probably be a good starting point. So I think that's a really good thing to say. Like really, really owning on that stuff.
Yeah.
And like if you're going to the bar, of course, you know the kind of person you're probably gonna find in the bar. So don't have this like, oh, I want this type of person, but then you get there and you're like, oh, I'm not. Well, be realistic.
Yeah, it's like set
So I
your
think
set your
that's a big
expectations.
point.
Be realistic about your expectations. Yeah.
Yeah. Case in
Absolutely.
point, in Bali, there are 2 types of people, right? The travelers and the long-termers. So
Yeah.
for me, it was I wasn't hanging out in beach clubs in the beds, right? The day beds. I was actually like working from co-working spaces and attending, I don't know, workshops, events, things to build on your skills. And so I found that the serious, so that was my kind of people. And so already through talking to these long-termers, the first question they would ask a stranger would be like, "Oh, are you just visiting or are you staying here long-term?" Because that's their first filter towards wanting to get to know you better or not. So like once you've established, okay, we're both on the same page, we're both trying to stay here for long term, we're both working online, then that's when it progresses further and you kind of see if you have like similar interests, you want to attend the same events. There's
Mhm.
so much for you to do in Bali. So then you can explore interests and do different things together, which is why I feel it's more colorful there as well. Because back home in Singapore, I always question people who are together. Like, what do you do on the weekends? Go to the malls, watch movies.
It was so bad.
I don't know. Like if I
What
switched
did
it
you want them
around,
to do?
I know it's true. If I switched it around, if I was in Bali, maybe we could take a weekend trip to see the waterfalls or
Right.
go glamping in
True, true.
Kintamani.
But it's
Yeah,
so funny. It's so funny that you bring that up because, then I'll tell people I'm from California and I'm like, yeah, I don't really do stuff like on the weekends or whatever. And they're like, you're from California, you're from San Francisco. There's so much to do. Like people travel to where you live,
Literally,
So
though.
like people
Literally. Literally.
people travel to Singapore too. So what would they do, So it's
Literally.
really just like a shift in the mindset, like it's
Mhm.
like if I came here as a traveler, what would I do? So I feel like that's helped me
yeah.
a little bit.
Play tourist in your own
Traveling,
country.
yeah, with traveling,
Yeah.
like traveling or dating at home, I guess.
Dating.
Yeah.
I think
Mm.
also another good one that I also like, Ava, that you said was the whole like matchmaking friend thing. I
Yeah.
think y'all, if y'all like friends, really, if you know some of your other friends that
Yeah.
need something, like really like hook them up together and stuff. Like I heard this interesting percentage. I think it was like 32% of people that are married actually end up with like through like family or friends, like matchmaking them. That's how. And I was like,
Really?
holy smokes, that's really, really high. And then there's
is.
like
Wow.
18% that's from like apps and stuff, and then other like dating like options. But I was like, wow, that's pretty
I mean,
interesting.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense because like your friends, your family, they know you, so they would know
Mhm,
what kind of person would be good for you, be good with you.
mhm.
And so, I mean, that's a very high percentage, but it also doesn't surprise me that a lot of people meet their significant others that way.
Right.
Oh, I have just one question. How would one find the time to know someone well enough if they're quickly traveling from country to country?
Ava, that's all you.
Oh, you don't. You got, like
Ooh.
I said, you gotta just be realistic about the expectations of like, if you're only going to be in a country for a few days, for a week, it's really not a lot of time to get to know somebody. So it's like either you're there for fun or you're going to commit to talking to them after, after
Correct.
the fact, if you want to get to know them more. I'd say, see how the initial meeting and talking goes, and if you want to continue talking from there, then do that. But if you go in with a realistic expectation, like I'm just here to, like, for a week, all I really have time for is a little one night romance, or I just have time for a guy to, romance me for like 3 days. When I met you in Athens, Belle, I actually met a guy there, like I was at the end of my 10 days, and I was really, really sick for the first part of it. But I met this guy like halfway through, and then we ended up spending like the next like 4 days together. So yeah, it's just being realistic about your expectations, knowing that you're either going to just have this like very short-term intense romance or a one night stand, or it's going to become something long distance. So yeah, setting the expectation, but then also going back to the fact of, if you are on the apps, chatting beforehand, if you have travel mode, is one way to get to know somebody before that. Obviously,
yeah, that's yeah. I could say the same about post, I guess. I don't know, maybe you could call me an old school romantic, but I feel like connection's quite hard to find. And so if you really vibe with someone, then as long as two people put in the effort to continue getting to know someone, like maybe virtually, but there's always video calls and stuff that could help. And as travelers, there's always that potential of, the world is big, yes, but it's also small. So I think if you want to make it work, it can still do it. And yeah, I think to be able to have a connection with someone is quite rare. If both parties are into it. It depends on what the intentions are. Like maybe it's just a summer fling, then yeah, it doesn't matter. But I always live by the life motto, carpe diem. You don't ever let one day go by without, like, you don't want to live your life with regrets. So
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm always like, okay, I have this fear. I used to be like a real introvert and not dare to do anything, but then I realized that okay, life is short. You're probably not gonna see that person again. So might as well just confess your heart away. At least you leave with with a clear conscience.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I believe in putting it out there. And as somebody who used to do like long distance relationships, I totally think it could work, after you leave the country, if both of you are committed to continuing talking, continuing to getting to know each other and everything. It's a beautiful thing if that ends up working out. And so
Yeah,
it's really just about being on the same page. So I
yeah,
totally believe in that too. I as much fun as I've been having these last couple of years, I am
yeah,
a certified lover girl at heart. Okay.
So I
yeah.
have a
She's
question
single
then.
and ready available.
So they have a question regarding that. So then, like for you guys, well, so you guys already know my sense. Like for me, I like with the dating, I'm dating with intentionality, like looking for
Mhm.
like a spouse. But then for you guys, at what point do you feel like you would get to where, like, do you guys ever feel? Because do you ever feel pressured from family that hey, where's your husband and stuff like that? Like the clock is ticking, this and that. Like, so you're out
Good
there, you're
question.
solo traveling, you're this. There's all these questions that you definitely, I'm sure you guys are getting. How do you deal with those pressures? And how do you also deal with like also having friends that like a lot of our friend groups, people are getting married, people are having kids, people are settling
Yeah,
down.
totally.
Let's not lie, like those things definitely slightly, like as much as I'm loving my best life, there's no way and no doubt that I'm just like, shoot, it'd be nice to, have a house and kind of settle sometimes. But I also can't imagine that. How do you guys like how do you guys deal with all of that? Sorry, I know it's a lot of question, but yeah.
Okay, no, I can speak
Yeah.
for myself. I don't think I've ever dated for the fun of it. Maybe like small episodes, but I'm always with like I because time and energy is precious. It's an investment in someone. So for me personally, I was never really just dating for the fun of it. I was always trying to find
Mhm.
my person. It's just that my kind of person is hard to find. And so the precious part, I get that, but I'm also trying to turn a blind eye to it. And fortunately, my parents don't really. It's not. It's not such. It's not such a thing that they emphasize. So for them, it's more that they want me to find the right person than to rush into a marriage and then end up,
Mm.
going separate ways. So I guess they just leave me be to find my person at the right time, which is like incredibly difficult as a nomad and a traveler. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
it's not because I'm like out to have fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess speaking on myself, do I get that pressure? Inka, I come from a Filipino family. Absolutely. Not just from my
Of
parents, but it's
course.
all the aunties,
The
the
whole
uncles,
family.
Whoa.
everybody.
I know
And
how y'all
especially,
are.
yeah. Especially too, because, a lot of my cousins, my siblings, they either are married, have kids, and all of that. And so the questions have come, and they used to come a lot more when I was in a long-term relationships. So it was like, when are you guys going to get married? When are you going to settle down and all of that? And like 2 relationships ago, like I was engaged as well. So like obviously like that didn't work out. Yeah, that's a whole other story for another
Whoa.
time. But that was to my college sweetheart. So but I moved to South Korea, it didn't work out. And then I met my most recent like long-term ex. So the questions used to come a lot more before. And then after this last relationship, I think it's because my last relationship ended so badly. And people kind of saw me go through that heartbreak and they saw me go through that healing journey. And after it, I really just became very unapologetic in the fact of how I live my life. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. I want to travel. I don't want to settle down right now. Like, what's in my heart and in my passion is to like see the world and to do it while I'm still able-bodied, while I have the time and means, while I don't have responsibilities such as a partner or kids or anything like that. Not that you can't do that, right, like with a partner or kids, but right now I want to do it on my own. you know? And so I became much more unapologetic when they would ask me like, "Oh, like when are you going to settle down? When are you going to have kids?" And really just like, that's not what I want to do. That's not who I am. Just like how I didn't become a nurse, like just not going to happen right now, you know? Like so I think they're like I still get it, but it comes in like smaller batches and everything. And into the whole thing of like people our age being, you know, having kids, being married and everything. Oh yeah, it kind of gets to me because like today I just got an invitation to a friend's wedding. I've been friends with them for like 20 years, and in like our little friend group, they're pretty much like the last ones to get married, and I'm just here, the single person, like in our friend group. So it's like, sure, it does kind of get to me a little because, like, yeah, that would be nice and everything to have a partner, to have somebody to share my life with. But again, I'm also just like, I'm really just living out my dreams of being able to travel and see the world and just be who I am and be really comfortable in my own skin and in where I am. Like I've spent a lot of like this is kind of going off a tangent of dating, but it's like I spent a lot of my adult life feeling guilty or feeling ashamed because of cultural things and not really feeling very comfortable in where I was at in life. And I think in the last year or year and a half, I've really come into that. And now like just the way that I'm starting to like take the shift in my content, really just like advocate for Filipino Americans and travel and everything. I'm like, this is my time to do this and focus on myself and help my community before like settling down. So that's kind of how I deal with all of it. I have all these other things going for me that I don't really like.
That one
It would be
part should
nice to
not
have a
define you.
yeah, and it would be nice to have a partner, but it's like it doesn't feel like I need to right now. So
Yeah. If there's anything anyone can take from this today, it's that everything takes its own time. It has its
yes,
own time and place, and
100%.
there's no point in rushing anything because it would just turn out in the wrong direction.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow,
I
really,
think
really good points.
one more question.
Yeah.
How or when does it go from dating to being exclusively in a relationship? How do you define it? Maybe Inca
Ooh.
can contribute to that
Yeah,
as well.
I can. But the issue is the
So,
last relationships I've been in have been situationships because
ooh,
I have failed to define the relationship because it was all on me. And the reason why was because I wasn't certain of the girls. Like there was
Mm.
something that was still holding me back. And I didn't like, I was hesitant to be like, you know what, you're exclusively my girl. Because like either there was a character issue, there was something that still needed to be developed that I was just like not flowing with. And I'm like, yeah, we're not, but like we're talking every day, we're doing everything like almost like we're a couple. But then, yeah, it's so for
kind
me,
of, yeah. It
it
kind
was
of all boils
tricky. It
down to
was very tricky.
communication, yeah. Communication, like honest
Absolutely. I think
communication.
you have to,
Yeah,
you
I
really
think
genuinely
that's
have to
really
talk.
it. Yeah, it's that's the key is like communication and I think just being on the same page. Like, okay, like we both agree that we're exclusively in a relationship, like we're boyfriend, girlfriend, we're partners, whatever like label you want to put on it. I think it's really just like up to you and
Mm,
your person to figure that out rather than being like, oh, it goes from dating to a relationship when like this happened. There's not really a defining moment that's like the same across the board.
yeah. Have you guys
Right.
heard of this term called RBDSM?
No.
What?
Here's a relationship lesson for you. So, I
Ooh.
mean,
Wait,
at some
what?
point, we're going to have an RBDSM talk. So, it stands for R stands for relationship, which is like communicating about what's your relationship status, what are you looking for? Is this going to be a relationship? Is this just going to be a casual thing? And then B stands for boundaries. And you can have this talk like at any point during your interaction with that person, right? So boundaries are like, okay, what are your physical boundaries? How far are you going to go with intimacy? This type of things. And RBD, desires. What do you desire in this relationship or situationship? Do you cherish your freedom? Do you want that person to be like with you? Like, do you want to be dependent on the person, which is always not a good thing? Or like, what are the qualities that are important to you in a relationship? Yeah, is it like sex? Is it like trust, communication, things like that? S stands for sexual health. So it's always important to be open and transparent with your sexual health. M stands for meaning. What meaning do you place in this experience with this person? Does having sex equal being in a relationship, or is that just just the act of doing it? So it's important to like communicate. I learned this in one of the nomad events, and I was like you. I had the same expression. I was like, no, I don't want to go
Like,
to a talk like that, a workshop like that. But then I learned that it's like how to navigate around and have healthy relationships with like people that you just meet or people you're interested in. Fun stuff.
Wow, very good.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Literally.
I'm like,
So wait,
I gotta look into this more. Like, let me
it
take
was
notes.
R was relationship, B was what?
Boundaries.
Boundaries.
D desires, RBDS. S sexual health.
Sexual health, and then M is meaning. You said
Yes.
nice.
I think
Nice.
one of the struggle as a nomad is like knowing that you have 2 months in a place. I can speak from experience. When I was in Bulgaria, I had 2 months, and I'm always and this kind of happens as a repetitive theme, even in the same thing in Bali. Like the first month, you're kind of settling in, you're trying to figure out where the best gyms are, what the events to attend are. So maybe towards the end of the first month, you start meeting actual people of interest. Maybe you bump into someone, or you start developing more interaction with the person that you're kind of having a crush on. So you kind of only have like the last month to squeeze everything into 1 month, and it kind of feels it's a bit unnatural sometimes because like it's like the honeymoon phase,
Mm.
and then it just feels it's very nice, but then what happens after that? So that's the thing that I would always be like navigating around, because it's never that easy. Which is also kind of when people are asking, oh, how is it like dating while being a nomad? That's kind of the experience that I have.
Which I guess then leads on to the question of is it sustainable? Like, because at some point that starts to get really tiring, right? When you don't have that one person like with you. Like maybe right now, maybe we're just in the stage where like it's explore whatever, but then at some point, but then maybe I know it's very different for women than it is for guys. For guys, they probably don't have issues, going around or whatever. But for women, I assume stability is probably a thing at some point. Like having your one person, having, that. And I think for certain guys, definitely for sure, same. Like for me, it's looking for that person like that I could do the rest of life with. But then I'm like, yeah, is it sustainable always being either solo or like doing this whole recycle thing back and forth until you find the right? It's tiring. It gets really tiring, honestly.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on your priority. But I mean, even if you're tired of traveling, you want some stability, like Eva, who's back home, still poking around. Belle, who's back home, still poking around. Being back home doesn't mean that you would be able to find that one person that you can spend the rest of your life with. So
True.
Yeah, stability does
True.
I'm not looking when I'm back home.
Right.
I was stable back home and I didn't find anyone.
Yeah. No, we just have to put it out there. We want to find a man, we want to find a woman, and hope that eventually it'll come. And then when it comes, it's on you to work towards maintaining and hold and nurturing it. But yeah, for sure, it's difficult. I mean, as travelers, then we have to battle the additional challenge of long distance, and making sure that the other person is also on the same page as you, because we can be. I mean, I myself am sometimes are up in the air quite a bit, so it helps to have that somebody to ground you, but also be open to crazy adventures together with you.
Yeah.
There's someone
Really all about.
sorry, I was gonna say there's someone I would like to recommend for whoever's listening to this later on. And you guys might know that her name is Glow Graphics. So Gloria is
Oh yes, I love her
very she like
story.
yeah, she recently just like pivoted into like the whole love thing, and her and Stefan just had a really great um they have like this really unique relationship, and it's really nice. Like for me, I can relate to a lot of things with her because one, we're both travelers, travel content creators, Nigerian, like raised up in either the States or Canada. So there's a lot of similarities. I also got to meet her and hang out with her a few times, and it's really cool just getting to learn from her and stuff, and seeing how she's pivoted everything. And like with her spouse now, they
Wait, you have to
actually like
tell us about her and her spouse in a nutshell, so we get the
yeah,
context.
so pretty much she was like single for a long time, like up into her 30s. The whole pressure, like like it's Filipina, Asian, African culture, very similar, honestly. So, the pressure is there, like marry this, blah, blah. She couldn't find her spouse. Eventually she found this guy through a dating app. And mind you, on the first, I think, date, like they didn't even meet up because she had boundaries,
Hmm.
and like it wasn't all gonna happen, but eventually it happened. Another date, and it ended up being like the love of her life, and I think they eloped even, if I'm not mistaken, and or at least he proposed eventually. um she's
In
pivoted her
Singapore,
whole
I saw her
was it in
latest.
Singapore?
Yeah, I saw her like her pin photo. It was the backdrop is
Oh
Marina
yeah,
Bay.
okay, yeah, I was gonna say somewhere in
Hmm.
Asia for sure.
All
I
the
can't remember where.
places of all the
Yeah, I
romantic
know.
places in the world.
Yeah, but like now, like they do this thing where they're not always together. Like they could be 3 weeks on, 2 weeks apart, or 4 weeks on, 1 week apart, or 1 week on, 4 weeks apart, because they both are still living their own lives. Like they're together, exclusive
Yeah.
and everything, but they're making it work because they also understand each other, and like they've built that foundation. So like despite the fact that she is this woman, she has to get all this stuff done in the States or wherever she has all these conferences, and he has the stuff he has to do, they still figure out ways to still make it work. And
Mhm.
it's actually quite nice
Yeah,
to see. I know it's not all rosy, but it's refreshing to get that type of content.
yeah. Ooh, very sweet. Yeah, it's nice to end on that high note. I think
Yeah.
we're like way over an hour now, but it was so fun talking about it.
Love it.
Yeah, thanks Eva for coming along with us to check.
Yeah, thanks for asking me to join. This was fun.
Yeah, it's nice to catch up as well.
Thank you very
Awesome.
much.
Well, whoever who's still here, if you guys are curious, check out her account. Depending on I don't
Yeah.
know where everyone is coming from, but yeah, definitely check us out. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video next week.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Cool. Have fun, guys. Bye.
Bye. Okay.
Nice.
And